Hello everyone! Welcome back to Franchi Talks Japanese Art. I am Franchi and today I'm back with a new video, and as you can tell it's kinda different from my usual videos. So I had this idea to play the game Ghost of Tsushima. Lately I am in love with it. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook. You may have seen that I have been collaborating with the Museum of Oriental Art Edoardo Chiosone, and I've been writing posts for them talking about the objects from their collection which have to do with samurai, so armors, helmets, and so on. And so I've been playing this game a lot to write the posts, and I've been having a lot of fun. You can read my posts, of course, on my Facebook or Instagram, or you can look at the museum's page. All links will be in the description. But so inspired by this collaboration, I thought let's also do something just playing the game, a little bit more fun. Of course, I'm not a professional gamer, I'm not even a gamer, so I'm not, this is not going to be one of those videos where you do incredible shooting and killing enemies and win everything. I'm just gonna more wander around and look at what I've seen, show you kind of how I see it through my eyes, what I like, what it reminds me of, what kind of art. So it's gonna be more focused on traditions, art, crafts. If you know me, you know what I like. So let's start. I decided to start from here. I really love this area. I love the landscapes and how much attention the makers of Ghost of Tsushima have put into this, into like these landscapes and into the little details of the plants, the flowers. It's something that I love to look at plants and flowers in real life. I love to look at plants and flowers in art and read about them in the literary tradition. So I think it's great to start with a plant. And this is the Suzuki grass. It is a plant of autumn. In the artistic tradition, this plant is absolutely tied to the autumn season, and we can find it, for example, on decoration of lacquerware. Usually it is also combined with chrysanthemums to show, to portray this season, and it is also incredibly beautiful. And of course it fits with the, with the real life chronology. We're talking about Ghost of Tsushima. The game is based in 1274 when the real invasion of the Mongols arrived to Japan on Tsushima, of course. And although in the game we can see different seasons taking place, the actual timeline is stretched. In real life, the invasion was a matter of days, and so it started on the 5th of November, if I'm not wrong, and so it's perfect for this season. And I just think it's beautiful. I wish I was there. So this was more of a little intro. Now let's go have a look at something else. So I have traveled to the Kuta farmstead, and as you can see, of course, on the screen, we are in a farmstead where rice was grown. And of course, I thought to start talking about this tradition and details of Ghost of Tsushima, I thought to start from rice because, as we all know, it was central in the development of Japanese economy, society, and culture as well, and religion. So the rice farming in Japan, historically speaking, it is believed that it started around the 3rd century CE, and more traditionally speaking, religiously speaking, it is believed, or it was believed, that the rice had a divine origin, so that it was first sown and harvested in the fields in the sky by the goddess Amaterasu, who then decided to give part of her harvest to humans so that the people of Japan could grow rice too, which is a beautiful idea to think about. And we can see it is traditionally grown on, with this kind of ladder steps shape, and of course each paddy was then filled with water. The growing of rice starts in spring, where the small rice plants are planted in the paddies get filled with water, and it ends in autumn with the harvest. And then the paddy, it depends what gets done with it depending on the area. Sometimes it is left dry, in some areas it gets covered in snow until the next spring, and in some other areas instead different cereals are grown through the winter. It kind of depends on where you are and how the soil and the weather are. I don't know if you have ever seen this. We can see here the paddy is almost dry, the rice is also dry, the plant itself. This is what happens in autumn. And when the plant is almost dry, it gets harvested, and then it gets organized on these basically bales where it is left to dry, and once completely dry it is shaken to get the rice out. And I thought it was a nice detail to see it in the game, because it is often portrayed in paintings which picture the life of farmers, and it is also portrayed in woodblock prints. It can be seen in Japanese art, so I like that they went to the effort to show it. So I traveled to this very small village, or more like a couple of buildings on the north of Key Spawn. And this is because when I was, actually this was set of a quest, and I was playing and this quest, I noticed a couple of interesting details that I liked. Once again, because they reminded me of some woodblock prints. So I mentioned I was gonna talk about sake, and in fact there's woodblock prints which depict the making of sake. And this also is a sake, not factory, I wouldn't say, because that's a little bit industrial, but a place where it was made. So let's find that it's better like this, easier to see. I don't know if you know how sake is made. Of course, we mentioned it comes from rice. The rice gets boiled or cooked, and then it gets mixed with water and this fungus called koji. They get mixed in this type of barrels, and then it is left for weeks to ferment. And during the fermentation, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but the koji uh, creates reaction with the sugars which are present and the carbohydrates which are present in the rice, and it creates alcohol. And this is how it was traditionally made and how it is still made. But we can see that it was usually traditionally put in these big wooden barrels to ferment, and they went to the effort to put them in this little quest. And I like that. In general, sake was started being made, I think, around the 9th century, and for the first centuries it was mostly used in combination with religious practices. It wasn't an everyday drink, and it wasn't a drink for the majority of the population. But of course, this changed, and I think, if I remember reading correctly, it was actually around this time, around the 13th century, that the production of sake spread throughout, like outside of the religious centers, and people started consuming it as a drink, let's say for everyday life. So we have been talking about rice and sake and how it was connected to the divinity. And so I thought to come here and show you a little friend which is also related to these topics. So let's follow it. I'm known for losing sight of these guys. Oh, look at the ears. And here we are. You can see this is a small Inari shrine. As we mentioned before, we can see a Shimenawa rope and these two small statues of two foxes, two kitsune, which represent Inari. Inari is a divinity which is tied to rice and in general the world of agriculture and let's say economical success and well-being, and it is represented by foxes. Originally, it was Inari that was represented accompanied by two foxes at its side. They were meant to be their messengers. And also Inari is known to travel on a fox, a white fox, as a vehicle. But then with time, Inari stopped being represented so much and instead the foxes took its place. And you might be wondering why foxes are chosen to be the deities that are related to rice, sake, agriculture. And this is because foxes can eat or tend to eat the rodents and the animals who would come and eat the crops. So, for example, mice, rabbits might eat crops. Rice also tend to get into granaries and eat food supplies. And the foxes would hunt them, and therefore they became kind of protectors of these elements. And it's kind of pretty. You can see Inari shrines in Japan, and they also tend to have these kind of grey stone statues. So as I said, I wanted to look at another shrine, this time not Inari, but a more general, bigger shrine. And I stumbled upon this Marsh Rock shrine. So I thought, let's have a look. I really like this. Oh my god, there's frogs! I was gonna say I like this foggy atmosphere and also there's frogs. Which are the best. Everyone knows that. Can never read, sometimes they have information about the shrine. Oh, it's an Ami shrine. Many of you know probably that Izanami and Izanagi are the kami which founded Japan. They created the archipelago. It's like a little maze, and I don't know where I'm going. Eh.
Three hours later.
So we only died a couple of times, and here we are at the Izanagi shrine. Oh, look how pretty. I've been trying to find out what this plant is that we can see all over. The best guess is the flower of some kind of tuber, like taro seems to have this kind of flower, but I'm not 100% sure. And now we can honor the shrine. Pretty. Oh. I don't know if you know about shrines, maybe you've been to Japan. In general, the shrines are placed in natural locations because they signal the presence of a kami. The kami are unseeable. As we mentioned also with Inari, the statues are placed in a shrine. And other things, for example, in Inari shrines there's the fox statues, but in the case of other kami there could be torii gates, the Shimenawa ropes that we can see here as well. And then, of course, the shrine themselves, these can vary in size from the small one to full size buildings. And these shrines, let's say, they house the kami, and then there's always also, or it can be also, offerings, as we can see on this altar. Sometimes, of course, as we mentioned, is sake, rice, and other foods. But it's beautiful. Now, we have been talking about Shinto a lot, but I am one for the equal opportunities. So I thought it's time to talk about Buddhism as well. This religion, of course, is present on Tsushima Island as well as the rest of Japan. And I chose this place, my favorite Buddhist temple in this game, and it's the Omi Monastery. You can see how pretty it is. And of course, big reveal. time. This is my favorite part. This is a Buddhist temple. The Buddhist temple in Japan and also in the other Asian countries includes a variety of buildings. It's a complex of buildings. So we see a pagoda, a main hall, kondo, and of course in this case we have a giant statue. This giant statue, I am translating literally the word Daibutsu. This kind of Buddhist statues which are meant to be of great dimensions and were built in Japan since the old ancient times, of course with different techniques and different sizes. For Daibutsu there is not official definition of what the size should be. It's more like a general idea. There's several Daibutsu still present in Japan, and the most famous one is the one in Todaiji in Nara, and one that we've seen, the oldest one we've seen in one of my videos, is the Great Buddha of Asuka in the Asuka-dera, which is also from the 7th century, so very old. And from around this time there is one in Japan. It's the Daibutsu of Kamakura from the 13th century. However, it's nowhere near this big. It's about 13 meters tall. Yeah, I had to check that. Where this one, as you can see, is probably much bigger in proportion. So I don't think it's 100% historically accurate, but that's fine. Let's have a look at the pagoda. The pagoda is let's say a symbolical type of building. It doesn't have a practical use by the Buddhist practitioners when they visit the temple. They're used as a memorial to a person, so in most cases they're used as reliquaries, and of course a lot of the times they host reliquaries of the Buddha himself. They also have a use as a symbolical structure because they tend to represent the path of the Buddhist practitioner and also create a diagram of the universe. This is kind of complicated, so I'm not going to go too much in depth about this, but it has to do with the structure and how they raise from the earth to the sky. Can I jump? No. We're gonna go up the pagoda. Because why not? And here we are. I'm hearing some pretty loud epic music in my ears. So I'm gonna go down and then talk more about the pagoda. What else I wanted to say about the pagoda is that in its shape, it represents in Japan and other countries like China and Korea. It let's say it has the use of the Indian stupa. All these symbolical meanings that we talked about, they are attributed in India to the stupa. And it's the pagoda is its counterpart in other Asian countries. But in its shape as we see it here and as we usually see in China and Japan, uh, and in Korea and Japan as well, it came from Chinese watchtowers. And one of the most beautiful things to note is how they give, let's see if you can see from this angle, sense of lightness and stability at the same time. And this is given to the roofs that become smaller as they go up. So they really give the sense of lightness, of going up. And as we mentioned, Buddhist temples tend to have multiple buildings, and we can see this is the kondo, it's the main hall. The kondo is in a temple. The building has more of a practical use for practitioners. In fact, we can see here. They have a raised altar. It's a little bit dark, so let's make it a little bit brighter. We tend to have a small raised altar with a statue for worshipping. And the practitioners, they can walk around the kondo and then of course worship the statues and pray. It's pretty dark in here unless I raise the exposure, but that's not out of character for many temples. The statues originally were made as a representation of deities, and for worshipping they had a practical use and a symbolical one. They were not made as simply as art, so sometimes they couldn't be seen very well. They would be kept behind the vase, in the dark, hidden behind structures, because of course of their religious importance and their status of deity. And there's another little thing. I thought we were done here, but there's actually something else I wanted to look at. I just have to find it. I really like, by the way, the pond with the lotus flowers. The lotus is a well found and important flower in Buddhist religion. We can also see the great Buddha here is standing on a lotus flower pedestal. And here we're going in a little bit of a secret place. Yeah. You can see a cave with more Buddhist statuary. This is a cave Buddha. Now, I tried to look into this, and they are not that popular in Japan. Not popular as in they don't like them, popular as in they don't really exist so much. If they do, they are of much smaller dimensions. I was looking up this morning. There are cave Buddhas, for example, at the Hasedera in Kamakura. Actually, it's not just Buddhist figures, it's a Buddhist temple with, I think, figures that are mixed of Buddhist and Shinto origin. There's more, it was more common to find Buddhist cave art in China and Korea, I think. But nonetheless, it's pretty. It's very atmospheric. We can also raise the exposure a little bit to have a better look. Yeah. And I also noticed last time I was looking around that they have these little figures of bodhisattva. I think they might represent Jizo, the bodhisattva of that looks after travelers and lost children. For example, children died because of miscarriage or abortion or disease, who in general died before their parents. And the Japanese people often are devoted to these Jesus, and they bring offerings to these little statues. And Jesus is usually depicted as a bold monk, so it could be one of these. So, continuing our exploration of Buddhist religion art in this game, I wanted to check this out. I found it a while ago. And it's one of everyone's favorite deities. Also, when I used to work in a museum and I used to talk about, there was a small depiction of this deity, it was all, everyone liked it. We're talking about Fudomyo. Let's change a little bit the graphics so we can see better. Fudomyo is a strong deity. He is a guardian of the Buddhist doctrine and of the Buddhist practitioners. We can see he is ready to fight. He holds a lasso to capture his enemies, and in this case, Vaira, which is like a trident. We can see the two smallest bit and then the long part, which looks like a sword. He stands, he sits, and he is, let's say, in a strong seated position. One of his characteristics is of being immobile, and symbolically immobile in his faith. And also he is usually in the background. It's a bit very hard to see. There's flames. This is a mandorla, which is made of flames, and it also symbolically represents how ardent his doctrine is and his strength. He is ready to fight. And Fudomyo was introduced in Japan by actually a very famous figure, by the monk Kukai, who had traveled to China in the 9th century, and he had come back bringing with him a new religion, which was Shingon Buddhism, an esoteric Buddhist sect. And once he introduced Fudomyo, its fate really took place, and of course, loads of people started worshipping this deity, and many statues were made of it. Finally, I traveled to the last temple I wanted to look at today, to look at the last Buddhist statuary. クロード様、お会いしたこと黙っておきます。はい。All these guys are talking about us. But we are here and we are looking at this representation of Canon. We can look at it a little bit better. Little bit brighter. But I was really surprised when I saw it. I really liked it. It reminded me of an actual temple in Japan. It's called the Rengo-in in Kyoto, and there is 1001 representations of Canon. So I think this is heavily inspired by the temple. This, of course, is not 1001. It's much less, but it doesn't matter because at the Rengo-in As well, there is 1000 statues, but they are there to actually represent the 33,000 possible embodiments of the Bodhisattva canon. Canon can, let's say, take all these different forms to help the Buddhist practitioners. As we know, canon is the Bodhisattva of compassion, and it is especially devoted to helping people achieve enlightenment, and for this reason it's also very well liked in Japan. And the real representation of canon, which are present in the Rengoin, they were sculpted by Tankei, the sculptor. You can see they are actually really like the shape. They're similar to the ones in real life. They're kind of ethereal, a little bit stiff. They don't show much curviness, or sometimes there's waves in the body, in the pose, but they're rather straight up and down and somewhat thin, which does give them this ethereal look. And when you see the pictures of the Rengoin, it's really, really impressive. These are made of gilded cypress wood. And I really like how I discovered them in this temple. It was a nice surprise. And to conclude, I've come here, it's Tadayori's Rest. It's kind of absolutely not connected to the Buddhist statue we were looking at. It's just one of my favorite places, and it goes a little bit full circle to the beginning of the video where we talked about the grasses and the plants of autumn. In this case, we see we are surrounded by chrysanthemums, which are also flowers representing the autumn season in Japan. They're also found often on decorative art such as lacquer, together with the Suzuki grass. And it's such a peaceful and nice place to look at anyway. So I hope you enjoyed this video, that you had a little fun. I'm not the best gamer ever, but I hope that you maybe learn a few things, discover a few nice things about the game or about Japanese culture. And don't forget that you can find more about Ghost of Tsushima on my Facebook and Instagram. The links will be in the description, and I hope that I will also make a video, let's say, encompassing everything that I talk about in the posts to put here on YouTube. If you want to see my video, of course you can subscribe, and you will see all the next videos I will make, hopefully lots, soon enough. And if you want to support the channel, you can also choose to support me on Ko-Fi. You can leave a donation. And that's it for now. I hope to see you again soon. Bye!